So let's go here. Yesterday, my good friends, Johnny Venerable and Bo Brock, did a 30-minute long interview with Jonathan Gannon. And before I talk about the things that Jonathan Gannon spoke about in that interview with Johnny and Bo, I just got to say this. Watching a long-form interview with Jonathan Gannon, it makes me feel like an idiot for some of the things that I've talked about this year. Some of the things that I've talked about in the offseason. Now, I'm going to continue to explore every avenue. I'm not going to sit on a bench and just let everyone else have the fun of conspiratizing on the Arizona Cardinals offseason and what Jonathan Gannon, his future could look like in Phoenix. But I've got to be honest with you guys. I watched that 30-minute long interview on PHNX Cardinals with Bo and Johnny. Everything Jonathan Gannon says just makes sense. And you look at, and we talked about this briefly, but last week I wasn't on the air last Thursday to talk about the Cardinals report card. And I don't really like to go back too far with news, but yesterday I kind of talked about it briefly. What I didn't talk about is one person did particularly well on that report card, and it was Jonathan Gannon. He got an A-. Pretty good. And it just goes to show you, when you watch that interview, you understand why players buy into him. Everything he says makes sense. He is a leader of this team that the Cardinals haven't had since Bruce Arians. And it's just shocking to me that at this point, he's still able to sell people, especially after a second half of the season that wasn't great. Jonathan Gannon stuff continues to be mesmerizing to me. His ability to lead a room and to get guys like me to continuously believe and subscribe into what he's selling. It is truly impressive. Everything he said yesterday, you're just like, man, that makes a lot of sense. And then it was the other thing that he had talked about yesterday. And that being of one, Kyler Murray. He sold me on Kyler like no one else can. I've done video after video, interview after interview, whether it was at the Super Bowl, whether it was right here. Man, is Kyler Murray going to work out? Jonathan Gannon's so calm, cool, and collected about it. And he makes you believe, you know what? I got to give this guy another chance. He mentioned he's going to have a hell of a season next year. And you're like, yeah, he probably is. Because that's the leader that the Arizona Cardinals need. My idea, my thoughts of defensive head coach, and let's just be honest, my prejudice against defensive head coaches. I'm not sure you can win a Super Bowl with a defensive head coach. You hear Jonathan Gannon talk, and he explains the importance of explosive plays, taking shots downfield. He doesn't sound like your typical defensive head coach. And that's why I would say for everyone, it's a must listen. I'm not the type of person where I want to just go consistently shoo people away from my channel and go watch other people's content. Now, it's different with Bo and Johnny because I know both of them personally. They're both really good dudes. They've came on this show before. Bo is, been really good to me. Johnny's a very good guy as well. And you watch that interview and you're like, yeah, you got to go check that out. You got to go check out that interview. I thought about just taking snippets of it and playing it on here just briefly. But I was like, no, it doesn't have the same effect. And when Jonathan Gannon speaks, I listen. And his ability to sell me on Kyler Murray, that he's going to have a hell of a season, I'm like, man, What do I talk about for the next 4 months? People oftentimes get upset with me because I talk about what he could be and if this should be Kyler Murray's last potential year as the Cardinals quarterback. Or I dive deep into Kyler's career. And then I feel stupid when I hear Jonathan Gannon talk about it because he's so confident. Either he's a really good liar, a BS artist, or he knows something that we don't know. And then it was the other thing that really stuck out to me in this interview. I came out with a blowtorch yesterday talking about Michael Bidwell and his commitment to this organization, his commitment to winning. Jonathan Gannon was like, yep, haven't had that problem. And I kind of believe him. And it makes me feel like, well, someone's wrong here. Because the Cardinals are 32nd in their team report cards as a whole, and a lot of that has to do with ownership things. And then Jonathan Gannon's on the other side basically talking about, no, he's given me everything I've needed and more. And then you just sit there and you're like, maybe Michael Bidwell's awesome. And I'm not sure who I believe in that aspect, but a review of that interview, which you don't get a lot of with head coaches, especially what I thought were hard-hitting questions from Johnny and Bo, those are the type of things you need to continue to see from your head coach who has shown that he's a leader. And you see that he gets an A+ grade, or I'm sorry, an A- grade from the team report card. You see all the issues with the Cardinals team report card. And it's F, 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 A-, F, 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 F. Treatment of families, F. Training room, F. Everything is an F. Jonathan Gannon gets an A. And you watch that one interview, and you're like, yeah, I get it. I see why players love him. And I see if there's ever going to be a quarterback, head coach, defensive head coach combination. So Jonathan Gannon, a defensive head coach, and a elite quarterback. I don't know if it's Kyler. I have my doubts, but someone else down the line, you're like, yeah. I kind of believe it's going to work out. So, with that being said, Jonathan Gannon continues to show me why this should not be a make or break year for him. It is hard to find a leader in all things sports. And what Jonathan Gannon has continued to show is not only is he a leader, but the players buy into it. And sometimes I worry if they're going to continue to subscribe to what he's preaching. And then I hear it and I'm like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.